Right, welcome back to another episode of Into the Valley. Today we will be looking back on Charlton's frustrating 1-1 draw against Millwall at the Valley. First game of the season, we were also able to get up to the Valley. Great atmosphere, great day. Frustrating on the result, but yeah, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great day out. Obviously, it's great to get up there. I think we already sort of had an inkling that it might hinge on sort of a refereeing decision or, a moment in the game that could change things, and that's exactly what ended up happening in the end. I think the referee actually had a very good game. I think he refed it well. He let the game flow, which you need in one of those sort of derby games. If it gets nitpicky, it's going to be a really bitty game. So I think he did let it flow, which made for a really good game actually. And it was a typical derby game in terms of obviously the crowd really up for it. I thought the Charlton fans were brilliant actually, really good voice. Millwall fans, when they scored, they were loud, but during the game, not that impressive, to be fair, and the standard, what you expect really from them.
Yeah, I have to admit, I thought it was, especially when I heard the kind of Charlton fans throughout the game, I thought maybe the Millwall fans were going to give it a little bit more, and I thought they were a little bit disappointed, quite quiet. I don't know if I've seen a few fans who I think were very disappointed with the performance, and maybe
I think that might be what it was. That actually we
underwhelmed.
Well, we dominated the first half, I would say. So if we're going to talk about the sort of how the game went, we played very, very well in the first half, and we definitely controlled the game. We had a lot of threatening attacks down both wings, so we were causing their wing backs a lot of problems, and that was then creating sort of half chances here and there, and then obviously second half, I think it swung a little bit. I think Millwall maybe got a grip back into the game. I think sounds like the manager gave him a rocket. I watched his post-match, Neil's post-match interview, and he said that at half-time he said that was probably the worst they've played for a long, long time since he's been manager there. And I probably agree with that. I wasn't impressed with Millwall at all in that first half.
No, and I mean they're not a team that I've watched closely over the last few years, but when I have seen them, they didn't really seem to show a lot of the traits that I would maybe expect. And I thought you're completely right. In the first half, I thought we absolutely dominated play. We wanted it more.
Yeah.
I felt that when we were attacking, we were breaking down the wings really nicely. I thought Carey was getting in some really dangerous positions as well. Apter was fantastic, and I also thought TC was really, really dangerous. I thought when the game first started, I thought there was a bit of a fear between probably both teams of not wanting to go down early, and it was a bit of a kind of lump it both directions.
A little bit chess gamey at the beginning, isn't it? Where you've got, like you said, you've got two teams that just want to get their foothold in the game. But I definitely think we took the upper hand. Like I say, that first half, I genuinely felt like we were massively in control. It did swing in the second, but yeah. Overall, a draw is disappointing because I felt we were the better side for the majority of the game. But obviously we know that red card changed the game massively, and I think actually when you look at the grand scheme of the result with the 10 men, it's not the worst.
It's not. I think it's frustrating because I think without the red card, I'm pretty confident that we would have held on. I think maybe one of the criticisms I did have probably watching the game, I felt we maybe dropped a little bit too deep once we went down to 10 men, and I do understand it, but I feel like whether it would have been through substitutes of someone like a Tanto coming on or whatever, but I just felt there was still opportunities where you can press out and maybe have a dangerous outlet or someone who just pushes out a bit more. I felt we really did drop back.
I think what we saw, you're 100% right, like we dropped deep, and that naturally happens because you sort of get that back to the wall mentality where your goal's going to come under a bit of a siege. The difficulty when you're down to 10 men is that out ball. When you do win the ball back, we had it. I think Carey managed to sort of dribble the ball out once Millwall lost the ball, and he was literally the only man up the pitch, which makes it very, very difficult because as soon as you're up there, you've got no support, and it's really difficult to then actually like progress from there. I think he did use Leeburn very well, and actually there was a couple of moments where Leeburn managed to sort of almost bundle his way through with his strength, but also his great feet as well. And he had a few little times where he sort of got the ball up the pitch as well. But I think you're right. I think we allowed them to really push onto us, and it was sort of almost a matter of time in that last 10 minutes that you felt it was coming.
Yeah, and I feel like the only thing of where I say we dropped really deep, I think it just played into their favour of just being able to pick through the pass, and obviously the goal, that kind of is where it came from, and I feel like the space we allowed them, and I thought when we went down to 10 men, we lost a little bit of the character of what we were, and what frustrates me is I think there is still parts of that game, like the press, that we should still be doing even with 10 men. We can still press the ball well, and I understand it's a big derby game. The players are probably going to be knackered anyway because they put their all into it. But I just felt we lost a little bit of that and maybe showed them a little bit too much respect down to when we went down to 10 men. And I know it's very easy for me to be sitting here saying to a professional footballer, but I just thought it was a bit uncharacteristic maybe of us. And
I think because they scored the goal that got disallowed, and that was another moment where they were getting more touches in our box, and that is all a result of us dropping deep. And that one obviously was ruled out for a handball, but the guy tucked it away nicely. But that was a warning to us that they were getting very close to our box. And then obviously the goal that came, the equaliser, it was quite a sort of easy ball for them to play through into our box. So even when you drop deep, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to keep the ball out of the box. And that obviously we couldn't in that moment. And then obviously tucked away the rebound. So, but yeah, you're right. Disappointing result in the end because of the way the game was going for us before the red card. But again, if you always want to win that derby, and we've got obviously that hoodoo of the 29 years, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But a draw isn't the worst result in the grand scheme.
No, and I tend to agree. So let's go into the actual game itself a little bit more detail. So first half itself, I thought, as you said, and we have covered over a little bit already, I thought we were really, really on top. I think I can very rarely think of many chances they had. I think they had a header maybe at one point that was a bit dangerous. But I think overall, we contained them really well. I thought we were playing through the midfield quite nicely. And I thought that's where I think the Carey position was really shining through. And I think, we'll go into the individual performances later, but I think Carey had his best game in a Charlton kit, and I thought, Christ, to think we got him on a free transfer, he's making that step up so well, and I think we've covered it in other ones. He's such a likeable character, but just as say, he just works. Whether it was the attacking positions, the driving runs, the work rate, and kind of willingness to also defend. He just seems like he's got it all, and that step up he's making really well.
And we mentioned that his sort of skill set is absolutely tailored to a Nathan Jones sort of side. He's got that strength, he's got that sort of bulldog sort of mentality, and he can score goals as well, which is really important for that position because he's he popped up Saturday with a great finish into the bottom corner through bodies, but you have to shoot to score, and he's one of those that will have pops, and so he's going to get quite a few goals.
Well, I think if you are on the edge of the box and you do, or just inside, and you do hit those shots across, there's so many bodies there.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And he didn't catch it kind of sweetly, but he did still get some good power on it, and it was kind of bounding through, and it was just one of those that, as I say, you get 5 of those in a game, 1 or 2 are going to go.
I was watching him actually taking his sort of, and they do their sort of pre-match shooting routine, and he's got a strong shot on him actually. So like I say, he likes one from range, and I think he will get quite a few goals from that. But he's a player that's actually probably of all the players we've signed probably hit the ground running the most, I would say. Him and maybe Apter has looked really promising as well, but and the other thing is obviously how well they pair up, which we've talked about quite a few times already. But again, you saw it against Millwall. Those two down that right hand side, they seem to be really, really in sync. And the amount of times where one overlaps, or Carey will just knock the ball into the space for Apter to run into, works really well.
And the thing I noticed with Apter as well is, and I know we kind of got a bit of a preview of it when Bruce was interviewed when he was rumoured to be signing for us, but he gets the ball. His first thought is to run at the player and just get down the wing.
He stands people up.
And I think that is quite a rarity nowadays, and something that is really dangerous, and he's very good at. I think there is probably a question, I think, hopefully over time, especially being in the Championship, of maybe that quality, especially on a more consistent basis, needing to be there. But I think maybe he's just that player who does just create chance after chance and doesn't need
It'll be a
necessarily
numbers
numbers game rather than a.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, I think because he's still quite raw, he's still young, he's still not played many games at that higher level. I think he's naturally just going to get better and better in those positions where he gets into the dangerous areas. He'll be more composed as time goes on. There's a few times where he sort of will run at a man and then he almost gets the ball a little bit stuck. He doesn't quite know what he's going to do. And I felt like there was a couple of those times on Saturday.
But is that always a bad thing? Because I always remember, and strangely enough, I don't know, it's one player always sticks to mind whenever you talk about a player doing that, and it's Yannick Bolasie. And it's almost like when a player maybe is doing that, if he doesn't know necessarily where he's going to be going, neither does a defender. And it does actually bring an exciting and a very difficult thing for players to defend because they don't know whether he's going to go down the wing and cross it or he's going to cut in. And I think that's something he brings really dangerously. So I thought probably the only other comment towards the first half that maybe not necessarily disappointing. I know we had a bit of a chat regarding this on the way back, but I thought we were a little bit guilty sometimes of playing to Millwall's strengths, especially right at the beginning of the first half. And I mean, you've got the big boy Cooper and Kramer, I think it is.
Yeah, they're both big.
I mean, they, especially, I think it was
Cooper.
Yeah, he was next to Lloyd Jones a few times, and he made Lloyd Jones like 5'5". I mean, he was a big boy. And I thought we were maybe just playing to their strengths a little bit too much. And I felt a little bit sorry for players like TC, for example, because I think the only way he knew he was never going to win a header, and the only thing he could do is keep running in behind, hoping someone missed it. And to be honest, one thing I will say about him first half, they didn't miss.
No, although
defensively,
what I think Nathan Jones was thinking in terms of, I understood why he was maybe putting it high ball down the middle because every time Cooper, one of the back two, headed the ball down, we were winning a lot of the second balls. So naturally, although they're getting their head on the ball, we're then picking the ball up in a sort of middle of the park / up, up further from our box. But the other thing is, if you are playing those high balls down the wings, that's not really going to work because we've got two short wingers. So it had to be the balls down the centre that were going to be what we were feeding off, which was happening fairly regularly. And actually, I felt we got our foot on the ball in the middle of the park quite well once it was down. Once the ball came down. Yeah,
and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's kind of the Nathan Jones way, and it's a territories kind of thing.
It is. That's what it is.
You get it up, you press, and then you have the ball up. And we did do it very well. We forced them into a couple of mistakes. Yeah. And I think early on we had a couple of opportunities where it was that. And I think we do that against a lot of teams. And I think when it comes to that high press and causing mistakes, especially in the first half of games, we're very, very good at it. And we catch a few teams off guard, especially ones who... I don't know if it's they won't expect it because I'm sure they look into what Charlton are like beforehand, but I think there's a few who maybe don't quite realise how effective we are at it and how, I suppose, all the players have bought into that style of play.
Yeah. I'll tell you another player, just a little bit off topic, but another player that looked really up for it was Greg Doherty. I saw him, but before the game even sort of kicked off, he was slapping himself in the head. Yeah, and to be fair, like there's a fine line.
Do you remember Joe Hart?
Yeah, there is a fine line between really psyching yourself up and being a bit OTT, but he had a really good game, I thought, actually. And he was a player that actually, once he got his foot on the ball in that middle, was actually very positive.
Yeah. I think he's going, and this season so far, especially the way it started.
He's growing into it now.
He's grown into it.
Yeah, well, I think so.
And I think we are still seeing, and I know we've said it time after time, but I think we are starting to see why he's the captain as well.
Yeah.
And as you say, I think if that was the goalkeeper running out doing that, I'd be very concerned.
It's a bit different.
But I think with him...
But early on, he went into a few tackles full force and sort of won the ball and stuff, and it gets the crowd up as well.
And I think the balancing act when you are like that is making sure you don't go in that mindset and then you fly in.
Yeah, not
like
wild.
Red card tackle in the first 10 minutes. But if you can take that passion, and he did it. I mean, you see him getting the fans up and stuff. Like every corner he was getting... And I think it is something, 100% I agree.
He had a good game.
Yeah, really good game. And I think if that is the trajectory we're going on now with him, I think those early couple of games where maybe fans had concerns, look, no player's perfect. There will be parts of his game that other players will do better. But I think he's starting to really show why he is important in the team and a really good player. So, so let's move on from there into the second half. So, as you kind of covered over earlier, I think Millwall came into the game more, albeit I still think there wasn't huge levels of chances.
It was limited chances.
Yeah, it was very limited. I think we were both maybe playing a similar style of football, relatively kind of
cancel each other out a little bit in the second half.
Yeah, and I think the game. But one thing I will say is, I don't think we had loads of chances. I think we still maybe were creating a little bit more than them. We had the Sonny Carey kind of played through shot from a really tight angle,
Yeah.
which, to be honest, like their goal, could have easily fallen back to someone, and we're 2-0 up. And
Yeah,
at
because the
that
keeper
point-
did quite well to palm that out
Yeah,
to open space.
So I felt still we had the better side of the chances. And to be honest, up to the 70th minute, away from I think one header from their centre back in the first half, we really, really weren't getting tested, and I think the whole game hinged on one moment.
Yeah, it did. I think we've spoken about how good Ramsey's been throughout the season so far, and I think he had one slightly off game not long ago. I think with the second yellow card, he's gone in. He's actually won the ball really well. Their players managed to nick the ball back, and he's thought, "Oh, I'm going to go in and get another one of those tackles in," but it was reckless. It was.
I think it was incredibly naive, because I can understand maybe going for that big tackle if the player's in 1-on-1 or something like that. But when you look at it, they may have had a bit of a dangerous attack, but I feel confident. And I think that's what frustrates me. I think what we've always said about this Charlton team is a player makes a mistake, they are all covering each other, and there is someone there, and normally it is Kane Ramsey, to be fair, covering someone else. But I think that's what frustrated me towards it. It was just naive and silly, and I think it is something he's going to learn a lesson.
He's acknowledged it. I've seen he put a post out on Instagram, I think it was, saying that he was really disappointed with the decision he made. I think they are massive learning curves, and I think the only thing that's disappointing is that he's done it in such a big, high-profile game for the club. Saying that, players are going to make mistakes, and at the end of the day, it wasn't catastrophic. I mean, it did end up with us conceding a quite late goal. But he's going to be so valuable to us throughout the season.
I think, like every player, you're going to have a game where someone makes a mistake. And in the grand scheme, he's been absolutely incredible since
and he will.
And I'd say he's probably one of our, if not one of... I'd probably put him up there as one of, if not the most important player we've got in that defensive unit, probably alongside Lloyd Jones. But yeah, no, it was really silly, and I think the frustrating thing when I come to the end of that game is, I think once the red card, the end of the game, the goal itself, I thought when I watched it, I thought it was pretty poor defending, but actually when I probably looked back, I think it was actually
quite a nice through,
quite a nice pass. He cut through. Yeah, I'm sure we could have defended it a little bit better.
Yeah.
The shot came in. Realistically, there is maybe an argument to say Kaminsky could have pushed it a little bit further wide, but I think actually it was a pretty...
I just thought it was a good stop.
Yeah, strong strike. I think it probably was more on the side of a good save, and then it drops to the man who sometimes
he's drilled it low. The keeper's had to get back on his feet. You're asking a lot for him to make a double save, and I think it was from close range as well.
Yeah. As I say, I think the most frustrating thing to me is up to that point, I just didn't really see a world where Millwall were going to score, because I think we were really just playing the game really well. I thought the subs were making quite a good impact before that as well. Yeah. So yeah, I thought, frustrating, but in the grand scheme, not a bad result, kind of coming away. And it reminds me kind of similar feelings to, I suppose we did get the point, but like the Leicester game, where it's like, I just felt a little bit robbed in that scenario.
Yeah.
And frustratingly with this one, just something we did have control of.
I think as well, it was probably a very big opportunity for us to finally break that sort of...
silence the kind of whole record against them. But
yeah, I mean, I think as an outsider watching that game, I think you would argue we were the slightly better team over the whole 90. I think if you were looking at the whole 90 minutes, including the red, draw's probably fair.
I think including the red, and as I say, we've covered over it. I think the fact we then ended up dropping really deep, and look, another day, realistically, we got to the 88th minute, which, to be honest, they could have easily kind of broken through earlier than that. We still were pretty resilient. I think it just ended up being that, especially in a derby day where players are going to be a little bit more tired than normal, we just hit the wall, and
you just get broken down, don't you? That's why.
But another day we may have held out. It is what it is. It's frustrating, but we're there. So so I think a good time probably now to move on to the individual performances. Now, before we do, as always, just want to kind of remind just to like and subscribe on the video and the channel. 75% of people who watch this video are not subscribed. We really appreciate it if you can. Really helps out the channel to kind of grow it out and hopefully keep giving some more good content. So would really appreciate if you can do that. Also, leave some comments in, whether Charlton fans, Millwall fans who are watching, your thoughts on the game, whether you agree with us two or not. But yeah, no, would really appreciate if you can. So let's move on to the individual performances. So as we always start, in goal, Kaminsky. I think he had really little to do.
He did, and that also comes down to like the sort of pattern of the game. I think we dominated large parts of the game. I think the main talking points really with him is how well he I thought he claimed the ball well from sort of crosses, from corners. He's quite a commanding keeper, and actually you feel quite confident that he's going to come out and claim a lot of the time, even if he gets a punch on it. But in that regard, I feel confident in him. Distribution's always pretty good as well. I think like
it's not bad. There's definitely better, but I think he's
solid.
He's pretty solid, and I think the good thing with him and what I'm noticing is, I think he's always been a position where we feel, okay, a goal might come from something because of a silly mistake or this. I think what he is, and I think probably very rare in a lot of keepers, and I think what makes him maybe in pretty high regard is I don't feel like there's many obvious mistakes in him.
No,
I know there's maybe the questions over one of the games where I can't remember what game.
Yeah, there's one where he came flying.
I think it's a Watford game actually, where he came flying out. That's the only mistake he's maybe made. But I think in general, as you say, it's just a position I feel is very commanding. Not something I particularly worry about.
No.
And that's the first time we can probably.
But even the goals that he's conceded, a lot of the times he's made a good save, and then it's like the second follow up. It's like I know when we signed him, Luton fans said, "Oh, he's a solid keeper. He's a very good shot stopper," which we even saw in the Premier League. He was making some really good saves, and even the goal he let in, like I say, he made a good save from the first initial shot, and then the second one comes in. It's going to be really difficult for him to save it. So,
well, probably the second one, if you're going to criticise anyone, it's defenders.
So not going to block or
positioning or whatever. But I think it's
solid again.
I feel very confident in the keeper position, and something that maybe I'm not. I think week in, week out, we've had that discussion whole of last season. It was Mannion or Maynard Brewer, and I feel like we're not having those conversations. And feel very confident. And as I say, away from kind of the goalmouth action, there was very little.
Much again.
I don't think there was probably either keepers had much, albeit I think their keeper was tested more. So I think good all round performance. Albeit frustrating. Wish he had had a clean sheet, but. Let's move on to the defence. So, Lloyd Jones. I thought he was immense.
Unreal again.
I thought he was really good. And, I thought it was probably a game that really centre-backs thrived quite a lot, because I think we'll move on to, obviously, defensive partnerships. But I think, Lloyd Jones just once again wins every header.
Yeah, he's so good in the air.
I feel like we maybe didn't get as much to him on. I thought there were corner set pieces.
No, but there weren't that many corners in the game.
There wasn't many corners.
3, I think.
But we had quite a few set pieces, especially in the first half, that were crossed in. I thought that was one thing that may be a criticism. I think we didn't take advantage of those set pieces. They're pretty poor. And they
weren't great.
Normally we get one right on, and you at least a few times in the game that Jones is getting on the headers, and I thought they were all predominantly overhit.
To be fair as well, that's one of the games that you need if you're going to be whipping the ball in against Millwall, you need them to be on the money, because their defenders are just sweep out.
I wonder if there was a bit of a fear, especially with how the game started, that their defenders were being so good airily.
Maybe we're not
going to put it in the mixer. You're almost having to get the perfect ball, and I think there was a bit of a worry on that, and why maybe you saw quite a few overhit.
I noticed from the corners that we were putting in, they were all back stick, and I think it was the standard we were trying to header it back across, but their defenders were very, very solid at winning the ball in the air. So I think it was one of those days where he was probably never going to really have a field day in the box.
I think it's the best probably centre-back partnership we've come up against so far this season, especially aerially. Definitely.
Jones is always a player you can rely on, and again, he's just one that you feel really, really solid with. You would never have any doubts of him sort of making a big ricket in the game, or like he's just very, very, very solid.
And I think whenever you come up a division, there'll always be a question over whether he can relay the form he's had in League One.
I think he's got better.
I think he has. I think he has over his whole kind of Charlton. Well, the whole Charlton career so far, he just seems to go leaps and bounds, stride and stride. And he is coming also into his kind of prime year centre back. And I think I can't see that. I think the biggest thing for us really is keeping him fit.
I think as well, like the longer he plays under Jones, the better he'll get, because
Mm.
Jones really has put a lot of faith in him,
Yeah.
and I think he thrives off that, and I think he's a future sort of captain if he stays at the club for a few more years.
It's clearly a system that works for him, isn't it?
Yeah,
The way
he loves
playing.
playing for the.
I think probably as well, having someone like Ramsey to the side of him as well maybe gives him that bit more freedom, because he's not blessed with pace.
No, but occasionally he does the little maraud out, doesn't he? But,
He does. He pushes forward with the ball
Yeah.
quite well sometimes.
Yeah.
You kind of think, oh God, he's getting a headache. He's gone past the halfway line. But
a nosebleed.
but he's I thought really good game. And
Yeah.
moving on to the next one alongside Amari Bell.
I really, really like that partnership now. I think
I do.
between them, I think Bell always seems like he's a bit more athletic, got a bit more pace, can push up.
Well, he comes back from those days of him playing
Yeah.
a wing back role,
Yeah.
then adapt.
But he's also very solid. He's strong, and if you watch him actually, like when players backing into him, he holds them up. He nicks the ball back a lot of the time, and he's good in the air as well. Actually,
Yeah, he is, and I think he's also got a bloody good football brain.
Yeah,
I think instead of that default of lump, which we do quite a lot anyway, and it's as we said earlier, it's kind of nature of the beast of how our system sets up. I think with him sometimes he won't just lump it dangerously just because a player's pressing him. You see him just kind of.
he looks like for the channel ball sometimes, and
He also just got a fake shot and cut back and open up the space and play it into the midfield.
He's a player that's very easy on the ball, and he's not one that he's one we've spoken about in previous games that we're a bit worried he might overdo it sometimes. But like you said, actually, he's got the ability to sort of cut inside.
From everything we've seen so far, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, he's very, very solid, and he's another one that hasn't really put a foot wrong. And that partnership's really nice because they complement each other well. I think those two. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think now moving on to, and it's probably not many times we'll be doing this in this kind of vein, but Kane Ramsey.
I think even to be fair, even before the red card, again, wasn't one of his greatest games. It wasn't one that I noticed him playing out of his skin in. Put it that way. I'm not saying that he didn't have a good game, but I'm saying he didn't stand out as being really dominant in the game.
I think where maybe he's not as noticeable is in games where a team are playing a very similar thing to us, which was, Millwall were predominantly, I think they had a few little passages of play, but predominantly they were doing the more kind of lump it up.
Yeah.
It's maybe not going to be as noticeable in that kind of game because you are going to have your Amari Bells, your Lloyd Jones, who predominantly are going to be challenging those. And there wasn't as many players maybe running at him, which is where he's in his element. And he did still get, I think he still got some really good slide tackles in and was still playing okay.
I think you're right. I think it's the way Millwall maybe played. They didn't really play with much in terms of attacking wingers.
Yeah.
So they actually didn't have a huge amount to do in terms of one-on-one defending on the wings. So that's probably why we didn't see as much of him. And then obviously the red card, we've spoken about it already, but that obviously put a dampener on his.
You could tell, and I watched the highlights back after. You could see just the way he raised his top to his face. He knew straight away. There was no argument. And the realistic side is, as I say, I think whether it was the occasion getting to him, who knows, or just a funny 5 minutes, a moment of madness. It was a bizarre choice.
Thing is, the tackle that went in, he slid, and he must have thought I'm gonna get close to the ball. Why would you? But why would you fly in like that unless you thought you were going to win the ball back? Do you know what I mean?
No, but that's where I think it was a moment of madness. If his brain was saying, "I think I can get the ball there," he's lost his head in that moment because there was no way. But also, the wild thing of it is there should be a click in your brain that goes,
"I'm on a yellow." That's
I've already just kind of gone in on that tackle there, and I think that's
because the tackle before that he went flying in. Obviously, he won the ball,
and that's what kind of worried me, and what made me think that maybe his head had gone a bit. Is I even think the first one. I know he's so confident in doing it, but should he still be jumping in, flying in with tackles?
Mistime it slightly, and you.
Yeah, I just think it was a strange choice. I think
it's one he'll learn from.
Yeah. He's not. I can't see him doing it again anytime soon.
But I think it's one that you've got to just write off with him. I think he's obviously going to be out for the next game, so he's got a week to sort of think about things and.
And that'll be interesting because I think it gives an opportunity for someone like Bree to come in.
I think Bree will probably be the natural replacement.
It's kind of why we signed him. Yeah. And I think the interesting thing with that is it might give us a bit of a view as to what he can bring, albeit he's very early in, kind of only just come through the door, but also what it would be like maybe if we did lose. Because I think with Ramsey, Jones, I think if we do lose them, there's quite a big gap.
Hole.
And I'm hoping maybe that might show that we're not as worried as we should.
Yeah.
I think there's no one who will replace Ramsey, but maybe hopefully what Bree will offer will make us a little less worried. Because there is a few players in our squad who I do think we lose them tomorrow.
Yeah, we could be in a little bit of trouble. Yeah.
Although we've got a decent replacement, they bring a lot to the team. So, so finishing off really on the defensive side, Josh Edwards.
Yeah, I love Josh Edwards.
I
Like,
think
he's my sort of player. Like, I really, really like the way he plays, and I think he's perfect for a derby sort of scenario because he gives everything. He's one that just never gives up. He's very good at getting forwards as well, which I really like, because although he's really probably, I'd say his main attribute is his doggedness defensively, but he's also able to get forwards, crossing the ball in the box a lot of the time. Has the occasional shot and stuff like that, but again, yesterday I just think solid. Like, everything he had to do, he did well.
And I think the impressive thing so far is that he's come up against some pretty tough opposition running up against him, and he hasn't been made to look silly at all.
We spoke about it against Leicester, didn't we?
Yeah.
Fatawu.
Yeah.
He dealt with him really well.
Yeah, and it was only the goal, which, to be fair, I don't think there's many defenders, as we discussed on that day. There was very little you could do about it. But I just think, what he brings, he's got his long throws as well, which I don't know what I think about them. We don't really seem to get the most out of them.
I actually quite like a long throw. I know when I'm watching a team that we're playing up against and they put a long ball in the box, I'm always a long throw in the box, I'm always like, I don't like this, because anything can happen. That's the thing.
I like it. I just wonder, are we taking enough advantage? Are we just lumping it in with like very little plan? And I do think sometimes there maybe needs to just. I don't. Maybe that.
But what do you? What? Yeah, but like, what's the plan? I mean, you're obviously like you're trying to get the initial flick on to try and get it in across. And I think it depends who stood there where he's aiming. But
and to be fair, there's very few teams. Pretty much most teams seem to have a long thrower now.
That's a territorial thing, isn't it? A long throw. It's like getting it in the danger area, and you, like I say, then you never know if you get ricochets.
Unlike a corner where you maybe expect it is, as you say, it's just a chaotic. Even if it's 1 in 100, you just keep doing it, didn't you?
Also, with a long throw, the trajectory is always a bit different. So it's a bit of a more difficult one sometimes for defenders to sort of deal with.
Yeah.
I quite like a long throw, but I'm a bit like...
Yeah, I do think we're quite suited to it, because especially when we've got players like Leeburn on and, say, Jones and all of that, we've definitely got some threats, and also just the chaos it can bring. I just think sometimes, maybe it's just this season, I think when you just see game after game, we just don't...
It does also depend on the team you're playing against, because like we've already mentioned, Kramer and Cooper were just mopping everything up. So when we were putting the ball in the box, 9 times out of 10, they were winning every header. So
yeah,
just come straight back out, doesn't it?
But as you say, it's a one time, I suppose. So, but no, Josh Edwards in general, I thought really solid defensively, pretty solid attackingly. I don't think there was much to probably shout home.
We said about down both wings. I think Millwall weren't exactly like the most sort of wide attacking.
No, and we relied, I think, probably on the attacking front. We much more relied on the wing play and kind of getting it to Carey than we probably did the overlap of like an Edwards, where I think there's other games where Edwards will be maybe relied on a bit more. I just don't think it was as much that game.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the central midfield. So start off with Connor Coventry.
Yeah, I think I've said in previous videos that I was hoping for like our middle two to start being a bit more creative, pushing forward a bit more, and I definitely felt like both Coventry and Doherty, keep forgetting his name. Both Coventry and Doherty have been more positive in the last couple of games, where they're getting the ball and they're looking up a little bit more. I think it probably could be that they're getting more used to the sort of the way that the Championship is. But we definitely had a bit of time in the middle against Millwall, I felt. Like we actually had a bit of time on the ball. And I think Coventry's always one of those that's very, very solid defensively. But he was able to push the ball up the pitch quite well in the game. Never does anything Hollywood.
No, and I think I'd describe his performance. I thought he was probably pretty integral to what he does well, which is
works hard.
It's not the pretty stuff. But he works very hard. I'd describe his performance as almost the classic Milner. It was a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
he was really effective in what he did. I don't think attacking wise maybe showed as much as he had in other games that we've played recently. It probably wasn't the game for it, and he just did the job. He went out there, was given a job, and he did it very well.
I think a lot of our threats as well in that game, attacking wise, come from the wing play. So therefore, naturally, he's going to be sat in that middle of the pocket, not necessarily getting as much of the ball because the balls were sort of we were trying to get the balls drilled across for the strikers and the attacking mids. So, he had a really solid game, and I think he is a really important cog in the Jones wheel. Actually,
he's the one, as I say. I think if he gets an injury, which he touch wood, I shouldn't say anything, but he never seems to really get injured.
You would miss him.
I think you'd miss him, and I also don't think we have a natural replacement for what he brings to the game.
In the past, Charlton have had players like you've had Cullen, and you've had sort of players that do the dirty work. Well, Dobson was a bit like
Dobson
it.
Was
the ones that sit a bit deeper, do the really hard run in and win the ball back, and sort of they don't necessarily have the most creative brain, but they'll knock it onto the players that can then run forwards. Yeah.
But I think after Dobson, especially when he first signed, there was quite a lot of criticism when he first came to the club, and I think he's actually turned it around with the fans really well. And I think
because he was Dobson's replacement.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And I think that when he first came in, there was that. I think what he maybe, because Dobson in his last season just became some
Hollywood
passes. I don't know where they came from. He never had them in the years gone by before that. But I think with him, a lot of people wanted maybe that, and I think now, after this amount of time, you can really appreciate what he brings to the team. And I also think he now is just in a system, especially as well, that just works really well for him and just suits. And he does play that role. And as I say, there will be games where you do see him a little bit more, but the fact you don't see him isn't a bad thing. It just means
he's played that role for quite a while now under Jones. So he's very comfortable in it.
On very few games as well, most players throughout the season, there will be games you go, oh God, he did this, or oh God, he did that, and very little. I mean, even if it's not, even if it is passing it on to someone else, there's a more technical side of it.
You need those players.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and they're not always the easiest to come by because someone who doesn't make the mistakes and you can really rely on, there's not a huge level of them out there. So, so let's move on. We've obviously discussed, but captain, Doherty,
from the sort of stick he was getting at the start of the season, I think he's come on leaps and bounds, and I think he's really showing that he's actually more than capable to play at that level. I think he put in another really leader sort of performance in terms of the winning those tackles, getting everyone up for the game, and I'm getting more and more pleased with sort of how he's sort of pushing the ball forwards now. And I think, again, he's one that's probably feeling a bit more comfortable on the ball.
I also think as well for centre mids, it must be quite hard because especially when you've got a lot of new players around you, you're also learning. Like, for example, a lot of the passes maybe towards the beginning of the season where you go, oh, what's he doing there? Or this, that, the other. He's probably starting to learn, like, okay, I now know Abdul running here.
He always goes
running
for that.
here.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I think we maybe underestimate this season is the amount of change there has been around that. And for a lot of players, especially in the more creative section, I mean, I wouldn't put him as the most creative, but he is the more creative of those two centre mids. And there is a side of learning, and I don't think that's to say. I think what we're starting to see is that game by game, we are starting to see a little bit more of that gelling together and understanding between the players.
Definitely. I think as well, he's one that I think he got criticism for the sort of passes that he was playing, but like you said, that might have come down to the fact that he was getting used to the players he had around him. And I think we're seeing week in, week out, he's getting stronger and stronger, and I was really, really pleased with his performance, actually.
Yeah, long may it continue. I think if he can keep doing that, I don't think there's anyone else you'd want to step in.
Well, no, at one point we were talking about whether he'd get rotated out. Which I can't see happening for a while.
I can't. The only difficulty I think we've got, and I think actually probably quite a good person to go on to next, we'll go on to, I suppose, the attacking quartet. Sonny Carey.
Yeah, he's like we've spoken already, but he's probably one of our, if not our best signing, purely down to the fact that he's been so integral to like all of our attacking moves, and I think when you look at like the key sort of chances we get in games, he is always in the mix of it.
And he just seems so much like a Nathan Jones style of player. So he's slotted into the system really well. We've discussed it so many times, but it seems like such a likeable character. And
he has shot. I like that he shoots.
I like the fact as well is that he shoots, he runs with the ball, he presses, he sees a bit of space. We've said this before, he's deceptively quicker than what you think.
Yeah.
He's also not weak. He will hold players off. He's physical.
Yeah, he is.
And he clearly, as well, has kind of really started with that kind of love for the club. You can see when he scored his goal, his reaction. Obviously, I mean, the realistic side is a goal on a derby day. You react like that. But there's just something about him that just is.
He's like you've sort of hit the nail on the head. He's almost become a bit of a fan favourite already.
And I think he's also causing some huge headaches because this is where I said let's go on to him because we said about at the beginning of the season may be about Carey dropping into that Doherty role.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think you then start to take away some of the things we've been really impressed with. There's a hell of a headache in there, which is the most exciting maybe summer signing was Harvey Knibbs.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it's very difficult to see where... Well, at the moment, I think you'd very much struggle to say Knibbs to start in that role.
He's not a starter as it stands because of the way the team are playing, the sort of structure that we've got and how it sort of clicks quite well already. I think his natural replacement, if he was to break into the team, would be like sort of where Carey is. But you can't drop Carey at the moment.
And I don't know enough about Knibbs, and this is the difficulty when you sign a player, you see all the attacking side. Is Knibbs someone who can step into maybe... Look, at some point,
could he go even further forward, maybe? I don't know.
I don't think he'd go further forward, but is he... I see him as more an attacking player. I'm guessing you couldn't see him in that dock role. I don't think he's that kind of player. But also at the moment, as I say, it's very difficult. That whole kind of centre mid, especially over the last few games, it's very difficult to see making any other decisions than what we've got out there. And
I think as it stands, he's coming on in sort of the 60th minute sort of period in the game. It was difficult because he would have come on
100%.
Saturday, and he would have been actually a player that would have been really dangerous to bring on. But obviously, when the red card happened, it changed completely the sort of way that Jones could then tinker the team.
Well, and I also am guessing that Jones, away from probably... It's always a difficult one, but I think when there will naturally one of those players in there will get an injury, and that is when
that'll be when
Knibbs will come in.
Gets his chance.
He gets his chance, and then we may be having similar conversations to what we are about Carey. One of the things I think that's really brilliant with our squad this year is there is that depth which we haven't had for so many years, and the brilliant part of that is there is that competition. Knibbs will, when he gets that opportunity,
he'll want to take.
He'll know if he doesn't take it, and I think that healthy competition. Balancing act, you don't want a player to get too unhappy because they're not playing, but I think the healthy competition in there, with injuries, they will all get the right amount of opportunities, but it is who wants to grab the ball by the horns, and at the moment, Carey's doing it. Knibbs hasn't had much of an opportunity too so far, but yeah, it'd be very interesting one to see.
Also, Knibbs has gone from being an absolute key player for Reading to then being on the bench at Charlton. Now, I know that obviously Charlton's a step up, especially with the promotion from Reading. But can you imagine being a player like Knibbs who's eager to he had that taste of it when he scored that goal against Watford, but he would have been absolutely gagging to play in that game, and then he didn't even end up getting on. But when you're warming up before the game and you're not training, because they obviously train in separate little groups, don't they, when you got the first team and the substitutes, and I can tell that he is so eager to get that.
And he's got, I think the nice little thing, he's already got his chant going around the stands and stuff. I think that's probably quite a positive towards things.
He knows, he knows that as soon as he gets that chance, he's going to be
a lot of chant. But I'm so excited to see what he offers, because I don't think any of the opportunities he's had so far have really given him that. I mean, we're starting to come out, and I know this will go on to one other player I think that maybe it's been used about, is he's not quite match fit yet. He's starting to teeter, I think, towards being able to use that completely.
Yeah.
So I think that would be interesting, because I think there's only so long you can say, he's coming on a sub, because
you know what as well. It won't be long before we have a Saturday, Tuesday, and that you do see Jones quite a lot of the time when he has games sort of that close together, he will rotate a player out. So that's where he's So he's
and that's something that I think is exciting, because I think one of the things with that squad depth is, years gone by, if we do have to rotate, there's normally quite a drop down. I don't think there is. I think this year, hopefully, if everyone kind of goes to plan and the players do play how they should, we won't have that drop off as much.
No, I didn't see who got man of the match in the end, but I'm guessing Carey must have been right up there.
I have to.
No, I think Carey definitely was the sort of highest player rated.
I know he's the highest rated on.
I don't know who got man of the match in the actual, the Sky Sports.
Yeah, I don't know.
Coverage.
Have to have a look. I can tell you it wasn't Ramsey. That's one thing. So let's move on to wingers.
Yeah.
TC.
Again, I think one of his best games this season. Because obviously being there as well, you really get a feel for where our danger was coming from, and both sides, Apter and Campbell, but especially Campbell. When he fronts his man up on the wing. Again, 9 times out of 10 he beats them, and then he's
so quick.
He's so quick, and he's small, so he's sort of able to sort of weave his way through. And defenders, you can tell they hate defending against him. And he had a few where he was sort of beat his man, cut inside, and got hacked down. He won quite a few free kicks. But he's so dangerous, and actually that display against Millwall actually makes you realise why Jones loves him so much and why he keeps him in the team week in, week out.
And I think anyone who I know I've seen online and stuff like who question how hard he works and everything like that, it's absolute rubbish. He
worked hard.
Runs, and to be honest, he does after 60, 70 minutes look absolutely gassed because he hasn't stopped running the whole time. And I think the fear of God he puts in some defenders, especially a wing back who's maybe not too quick. You can see they're almost like, please don't run down the wing, because he is so electric. And I think the only thing that he has got to improve on over time, and I hope we do see, is that decision making. And I think that's what takes him from being a dangerous player who does go down the wing, but the end product's never there.
I actually thought his decision making on Saturday was pretty good.
Yeah,
there wasn't really anything that I thought, oh, you should have done this.
No, I think it was definitely of the Championship season, and that's one of the games that gives hope to. We've had lots of conversation. I think he's a very difficult one to talk about because every Charlton fan wants him to do well and is willing him on, and I think there is question marks over whether he has got that ability to step in. A game like that, and I thought there were elements of the game against Bristol as well that he showed it, and the chaos he can bring, especially when he comes up against the right kind of player who maybe isn't blessed with pace.
Which I think was the case on Saturday. I think he had the beating of that player. So you saw every time he fronted him up, you were like, oh, we're gonna get past him, man. And it was exciting to watch.
It was, and I think you have it down both sides. And I think with Apter, you've got a similar style of player, albeit they have definitely got some differences. I think Apter's got a little bit more of the kind of, you don't know whether he's going to go in
and
or
shoot or whip it. I definitely, Apter, we've talked about it already, but he's got a bit of a better quality of cross currently. So I think sometimes Apter's looking to like whip one rather than TC's maybe not quite got that in his locker yet, that he more drills the ball across the box.
Although it is something with Apter where I do agree, but at some point that has statistically got to start showing as well. And I think I am such a fan of Apter, and I think he's a brilliant signing. I hope as the season goes on, you will see, I think there is a good quality across, whether that is players getting used to what he's doing as well, as we discussed earlier, that kind of synergy between the players, but hopefully getting a few more assists, a few more goals, because that is something this team is kind of screaming out for at the moment. But yeah, no, I think going back to just kind of summarising over TC, I thought overall really good game. And yeah,
like I say, he wins free kicks as well, which for us is a big plus because they're usually free kicks in a dangerous area. And then that gives us the chance to get joy.
He had that one, didn't he, where it looked like he had kind of lost the ball and then he cut in and then got hacked down. And that is one game as well. He's the kind of player who might get in the 60th minute, like Kane Ramsey had, where he just flew in. He'll cause that chaos and will maybe get someone sent off at some point. So yeah, no, really positive. All I hope is that we start to see that TC more often, and I think
we will.
Yeah, I think TC's biggest thing is consistency, and I think we've got to start seeing that a little bit more frequently, and hopefully this game was a platform to now push on from. Because I think if we can get that consistent danger down both sides, teams will really struggle.
Also, he took a bit of criticism, especially in that QPR game. So it's nice to see that he's sort of bounced back with that performance against Millwall, which obviously is a huge game for the club as well.
And there is, once again, is that the competition in the squad, because there is players in the wings and like your Tantos who I thought
he might have got subbed out, didn't we? Almost.
So I think there is definitely, and maybe that competition of squad once again is causing him to think, no, actually, I do need to make sure this consistency. I do need to be putting the performances in. So yeah, hopefully we'll see more of that going through the season. Let's move on to the final winger, Rob Apter.
Yeah, again, another one. He just had another one of those games where he linked up really well with Carey. The right wing in that game, both wings, so TC side and Apter, we were causing a lot of problems. He still had Apter had a few of those ones where he cut in and tried to shoot. He had quite a few of those shots blocked. He didn't really get one away.
I think, and I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure he was up against Doughty as well.
So
we know is a very, very good defender, and I think he probably had one of the tougher games where I think in other games he's really jinked in and out and players have struggled. I think Millwall probably read what he was going to do a little bit better.
He had that chance where he cut in and then he sort of semi-lost the ball but managed to get it back, and then it deflected up and nearly looped into the goal, to be fair. And they're the sort of things that he does bring, is that he brings danger of that cutting in. He's always looking to get a shot away, which I like, similar to Carey actually, but in a different way, where he cuts in and he's trying to whip it almost. And I think he's going to get plenty of goals from doing that as well. And his pace, and he's another one like TC, where if he fronts his man up, you're off your seat and you're like, okay, he's going to beat his man. Or if he nudges it past and wins a corner, he's getting us in dangerous places.
Well, and I also think him and TC both bring something in as well, which is, I think in football, a lot of the time, maybe something that's lost is how individually they perform. Also, what individually they bring towards dragging other defenders out of position. I think
Create
because he is
space as
so
well.
direct, there was a few times where he seems to have this really good setup with Sonny Carey, where he's making the runs at the right time, and that might be he's making the run, dragging the defender out, and then Carey will push through. Other times,
and
Carey
as well,
and I think with that, what that is causing is some defenders who, as I say, they're not knowing what we're going to do. We're no longer maybe as one-dimensional as we've been in the past, and I think that's a really important thing, and hopefully something that will only kind of get
one
better.
Thing I notice he does as well, because like we've talked about it, but he links up really well with Carey. But what he'll sometimes do is play the ball back to Carey, and then Carey will go on a little inside run instead of playing it out wide. Like you say, just by after making that run out wide, he will drag the defender out and create the space. So yeah, it's really good.
And I think with those two, I'm not sure either one of them. I'm sure they would have still looked good, but I think the fact we got them and the clear relationship
there's already a mesh there, isn't there?
I think that's helped them both really exceed straight away. And long may it continue.
Yeah,
so
really,
I think they're both.
They're
really
exciting to watch.
Yeah, really impressive, and I think it's only going to get better as time goes on. So, final one, I think quite an interesting one maybe to talk over was Kelman.
Yeah, so I think wasn't one I necessarily expect to see on the starting lineup team sheet. To be honest, like I didn't. He's been a really strange one for Kelman so far, because the way he plays on the last man. He's the sort of player that needs the good sort of little through balls or the balls over the top that he can run onto. And I don't think it was, again, massively that kind of game where he was playing off the last man. We were, like you said, a lot of the time we were lumping it a little bit. So if we're doing that, then Kelman's not exactly going to be the one to win the headers. And then it's difficult. Did you notice him much in the game? I didn't massively.
I don't think I did. No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I don't think for long periods of the game we were playing to his strengths.
No.
I thought he looked a bit sharper. There was a few times we got the ball down. He was moving quite quickly. Once again, though, they were pretty strong defensively. We weren't massively playing in behind. My biggest concern, if I come to anything, and I think there is no way on this earth that I'm going to judge this early, is whether the system we play completely suits him. The difficulty I have with that is Godden. We were playing the same system last year, and Godden was scoring goals, and it took him a little while to fall into it. I don't know.
I think as well, I think he's desperate to get that first goal. I think once, I've said it already, once he gets that first goal, I think you'll start to see him flourish a little bit more. But there were a few times, actually, I say I didn't massively notice him. There were a few where he took it down quite nicely from like when he did get the ball played to his feet, and then he's looking to turn to sort of run at people. He's quick as well. So he's one that, again, like all he needs really is for one of those times where they opens up a little bit and he gets a bit of space. And he just needs to get that goal, to be honest.
And to be honest as well, a lot of the teams we've actually played so far as well, I take the first couple of games out because he realistically had only just signed. There is the match fitness, but also Leicester, very, very strong defensive side. Millwall, very strong.
Millwall don't ship loads of goals generally. They're pretty solid at the back, so they're not a team we're ever gonna score like.
So I think it's maybe, as I say, no way is there going to be too much judgment on him. I think he probably, out of all the games, showed. Look, in the QPR game, I thought he showed some pretty good signs of what he could be about. And I think in this game, it wasn't a game that was going to show off any striker. And the prime of that is, I think it's Ivanovic they've got up top, and he is so highly rated.
Didn't really
Once
see
again,
anything.
style of play, we really saw very little from him.
It was a game actually for neither end strikers were really like highlighted in that game. I wouldn't say.
So I think because of that, it just was maybe just a byproduct of the game. And I think, as I say, there definitely is little signs in there of, I think, exciting.
I think we're starting to see some glimpses of like what he can bring.
Well, I also think it takes that midfield that is still gelling together, and the wingers and all of that. They're all the people that feed him.
Yeah.
So the realistic side is, until they're completely clicking, he won't get the highest.
Strikers in general are only as good as the players around them. Like you need to be able to have the quality of play through to you to be able to get the chances to score goals.
Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting. Nothing to say, nothing too concerning, but
No.
very difficult game to really judge too much. So, let's move on to the subs. Only had 3 of them this time. So we'll start off with the 2 came in on the 61st minute. So we had Bree and Leeburn. So, let's start with Bree.
Yeah, well, firstly, actually, I want to say that Jones actually made a sub in sort of the 60th minute, which is quite nice. So he did actually bring some people on a little bit earlier in the game to try and switch things up a little bit. Bree, Bree came on, looked fairly solid. Like, again, it was one of those where, obviously, once he came on, obviously, the sending off was about 75th, I think, so about 50 minutes after. That massively changes the game, so then he automatically becomes quite defensive then. It's a difficult one because it's probably not enough time, really, to judge him on. But, I mean, from what I saw, looked pretty solid, pretty good on the ball. But
pretty good, and I think he's one of those as well. I've seen some highlight reels, and he's got a
take
free kick on him, which is always quite nice if you have one in the dying embers of the game. But yeah, I thought it was a really difficult game to really.
You can't. It's not enough time really to judge him fully. But
it's one of those horrible games because you say not long after he came on, it's his first game, so it's going to take him 10 minutes to kind of get up to speed, and then we get the red card. It's a derby.
All those factors have made it.
Just made it really difficult.
It's a tough game to be thrown into it.
But he didn't make a mistake.
No,
that's the main thing. I mean, I don't think there was anything I could say negative about him. So
yeah,
I'd say a pretty solid debut, albeit nothing too much to write home about. Moving on to Leeburn, who I think it's a really interesting one because I thought he came on and he looked really up for it. I thought he looked really fired up. He had that really. Almost looked like he was going to lose the ball, but just his feet do what they do. Bumbled it through and got TC in on goal, who obviously took the shot from a bit far out, but hit it quite nicely and was creating chances. Looked like he was causing a lot of problems, but I had a bit of a problem with Leeburn, and I couldn't quite get my head around it. I think he'd only been on the pitch probably 15, 20 minutes. He looked like he'd run a marathon before the game and then had played the whole 90 minutes because he just looked absolutely. He was. I missed. It was like he had lead feet.
I missed that completely. What you were talking about when you said, "Oh, you thought he should have shut the
it's
guy
interesting.
down."
If anyone in the comments who was at the game saw the same thing, because I really didn't. It almost frustrated me at one point because you had players who had been on the pitch the whole time who were pressing. And you were him who was running in kind of concrete feet and just like he's just letting players run past him.
No.
And I found it really. It kind of annoyed me, and it annoyed me because as well, I've been so impressed with him this year. But I think at that one moment, especially when you're down to 10 men and you need everyone putting their all in, it's either there was a fitness issue, or I don't know what it was.
He could have switched off, to be fair, maybe it might have been it.
What it was, but I just think he was letting players run past him, and it was almost angering me.
You see, I actually thought when he came on, he was really... He was a good player to bring on at that point in time because he's physical. We know what he's like. He's physical, got really good feet, and he had a few of those moments where we got the ball up to him, and he managed to make something out of nothing. The TC chance where he sort of had really good feet and then managed to almost backheel it through to him. Not many other our players could have done
there is
that.
another day, and that's what frustrated me so much. Is I was so happy with him, and then he just made me internally really angry.
I think maybe obviously the part where you're frustrated is a defensive element, and maybe that's not.
I disagree completely. It's not a defensive element. It's the
work
togetherness,
the
work rate, especially when you're down to 10 men in a derby game. You should be giving everything. I want to see you hyperventilating at the end of the game because you've run that hard. And there was just something. I say, if he'd been on the whole 90, I could understand it, but.
I'm going to have to watch that back, really, especially the goal.
I don't know if you'll see it too much on the pitch. It was just watching him, and really angry.
Got to be in your bonnet about it.
But equally, the chance he created, and I do think he still had an okay game, albeit he just angered me at the end. Yeah. Calm down, Tom. But yeah, no, I think it was just that frustrated me. But yeah, that chance he created for TC, there's another day where TC comes in that scores, and we've then got the 2-0 and we go to win the game. So yeah, no, definitely, let us say, very good performance. Just.
Yeah. Also, I will say, I was slightly, I was not concerned. I was slightly sort of surprised to see him not starting because of how well he played in the QPR game. But I think that might
see that over the season, though.
Yeah, we are. But I think might have also been the fact that we're coming up against two lumps at the back, and maybe actually Jones thought if we have a shorter, sort of quicker player like Kelman on, he could run rings around them if he had a good game.
Well, and also there's another side, which is he may think that once those defenders are tired and you bring on that physical threat, maybe that'll be more impactful in this game. So I think there's lots of things, and I think we will see throughout the season rotations of strikers, because we have got lots of choice, and you're going to have Godden coming back into the mix. You've got lots of different bits.
Forget about Luke Berry as well.
Yeah, you got Luke Berry in there. So I think there's lots of players. There's a lot of rotation in there, and I don't think as much as there will be the preferred 11, we're going to see a lot.
No, 100%. And there's so many games in the Championship.
Yeah, and then the final one, Burke, once again, I think similar to Bree, but on a much bigger extent. There's very little to really go on.
What minute was he on?
83.
So
it came on 83. Once again, had a few players who were running him. I felt a bit sorry for him because we were penned in players running him. Like, there was no getting up to speed of the game. We just had players straight away running, and he was playing the.
So he 83rd, and then they scored in like the 88th. So it's 5 minutes.
He was kind of playing that Ramsey role where they were starting to really hit down the wing, and he was kind of covering because it's the apt.
We were getting bombarded.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I thought it was a tough one to come into. Didn't do anything wrong. Very little to kind of be able to judge on. So yes, I don't think. Have you got anything more? I don't think it's what it is with that one. So I think probably looking over, the only one I think I was maybe a little bit disappointed not to see come on, and we did speak about the kind of dropping deep, was maybe Tanto, and I feel a little bit sorry for him this year because I think he is maybe one of the players who is up to speed. You haven't got the excuse maybe match fitness, did play throughout pre-season. I think at some point soon he does need to be given the opportunity, because I'm sure there's probably a part of him at the moment that is a little bit gutted he hasn't been given a bit more opportunity, whether that's getting, rather than 10 minutes at the end of the game, half an hour. I know Jones isn't going to make half-time subs unless we're doing something absolutely awful, but I do feel a bit sorry, and I do think he maybe needs a bit more of an opportunity, especially in games where maybe TC's struggling. And I think in that game, one thing he could have brought is when we clear the ball up, he's a very physical, he's quick, he could press. We maybe could have just got out a little bit higher.
I think in my opinion, the reason Jones likes to sort of stick with his sides is he feels like if we're playing to a level in a game, he does sometimes think, okay, what's the need for the change? I think you're right though, in terms of there's moments in games where you could do with that fresh impetus, and actually he's the sort of player that brings that sort of more physical edge, for example.
Well, and the difference in the game is, rather than sitting back and just taking wave after wave after wave, you might get 3 minutes just because he's pressed, he's got it high up the pitch, they're playing it back because he's running around like a madman. I just thought there was an opportunity there to just
he's got pace as well, to be fair, hasn't he?
Or you belt it clearance and you get one on the break. I just thought there was a moment where I just felt there was a player like that who could have come in, and I think probably naturally you're probably looking at TC, who does naturally get quite tired. Towards the end of the game.
He's played the whole.
Yeah.
So you definitely could argue that.
I think there was just a moment. I once again, it's relatively minor bits. I just think it could have changed the game a little bit towards things. So there we are, looking back over. Frustrating day.
I think it is a frustrating day, but I'm quite proud. I'm proud of our performance, and I think we've come a long way. I think that's, as Charlton fans, we have to remember that we've come from 5 years in League One to now battling with our nearest rivals, and ultimately being disappointed we didn't get the win. And that's after one. We only got promoted last year, so in the summer. So I think we can be pretty proud and pleased with where we're at. I felt that way throughout the whole of the start of the season, to be fair. Even the games we've lost, I think we put up a really good fight. And
QPR was probably the only one.
Yeah, that was disappointing. That was one we ultimately deserved to lose because we just didn't turn up, I don't think. But I came away from Saturday thinking, I'm a bit disappointed we conceded, but would I have taken a draw? Probably would have.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think probably a final mention as well. We bumped into Charlie, who, online will be better known as Brazilians at the Valley as well. Really nice to have a kind of chat with him. I think he obviously interviewed us for the vlog. Definitely go over and have a look at his channel. Does some brilliant
does really good the game day stuff.
Yeah, the game day vlogs, I think he does them really well, edits them really well. I think gets some really nice insight on kind of fans' opinions of both sides. So definitely someone to head over and have a look. Also bumped into one of the viewers as well, well, of Robert Cooper. So yeah, really nice to kind of bump into people, have that interaction that normally is on a keyboard, but yeah, really nice to bump into a couple of the fans, etc. So yeah, so I think the final one before we kind of wrap things up really is to look ahead to the next game against Sheffield United. So game at Bramall Lane, I think one that I was excited about until I heard the news this morning.
So Charlton, to be
Yeah,
fair.
Ruben Selles has been canned, and Chris Wilder's coming back in.
Yeah, I think we were obviously we were hoping that Sellers might hang on. The thing is, I think it was inevitable he was going to get sacked.
One game.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, he's lost 6 games in a row.
I think I might be wrong on this as well, but I don't think they've scored in like the last 4 either.
They haven't. No.
Yeah.
So they are terrible at the moment, and I think that was inevitable almost that it was going to happen. Now, obviously, when the new manager comes in, and it looks like it's going to be Wilder, I don't think it's been announced.
I don't think it's been announced, but what worries me just with Wilder is any other manager, you have the new manager bounce, but he was there so recently.
Yeah.
So many of the players, it's almost like they'll just drop back into his system. It's almost like he's never left.
One thing I will say, what a weird thing for a club to do. Do you not think? I know he's a fan, and
on the face, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like he's coming back thinking, "Oh, you boys got this one wrong." Like
he must have back in. Like,
but also like he's weirdly like obviously they sacked him. Sellers got in the players he wants, and now he's got to come back and work with obviously quite a few new faces that he won't know.
Yeah.
You're right though. The crux of the team will still be there,
and I'm pretty sure I saw something to say that I think some of the bits that he fell out with was something to do with an AI-driven model towards scouting players and transfers.
But you know now
he was struggling, and that's what they fell out with the owners over. And then they've obviously signed players off the back of that.
Yeah,
are performing pretty terribly. ChatGPT's not doing its job.
Yeah,
and now obviously Wilder's going to come back in, and that's the one hope is that the difference between maybe having a Wilder squad where he builds some more bits. Like he has got a different squad. I can't remember too much towards their ins and outs, but he will have a different squad. He will have players that have come in and that he won't know.
Well,
I hope that
not only that, he's not even been appointed yet, and we'll be into the start of the next week. So
hoping he's in the stands.
So he might not even be in full charge. They might have a caretaker still there at that point. But also, how can you get your point? You can't in the first week of being into the club. So therefore, it's going to be a bit of a weird one for Sheffield. It is a home game for them, and obviously they're going to be desperate to get a point on the board. They've not got 1 point yet this season. So.
Yeah, and it's the flip side to this as well, which is it is frustrating. And my initial reaction earlier was, "Oh, for God's sake, we could have at least tanked them or just got our result before they then ended up turning round on things." But also, from our start to the season, should we really fear any squad, even if they are in form? Because I look at it and think we've got Leicester, who are kind of going strength to strength this season and started really strong. Probably out of all I know they picked up the 3 points. We outplayed them. Bristol City, who have picked up some really good results. We, on another day, could have picked up all 3 points.
You're absolutely right. We shouldn't be fearing any team, to be fair. Like, literally any team we play against, we should be going into it thinking we can get something here. And why should Sheffield United be any different? Even if they were like started the season brilliantly, we'd still be going there hoping for something. It just happens that they're on 0 points, and we do not want to be the first team to be the ones to get them.
No, and I think one of the things we have got to do, and I think what we will see throughout the season, we saw it last year, we got promoted off the back of it. A Nathan Jones team will be fine margins. We will win 1-0.
Yeah.
We'll have the occasional, like we did against Wickham last year. I remember sitting there with a few beers over Christmas.
Yeah.
Christ, what's happening? But
yeah.
Was it Christmas? No, Easter. It was Easter.
Easter
time.
It was like 4-5.
Yeah, it was Easter. It was Easter. I remember Easter Sunday. I just had my roast dinner and delightful.
Yeah.
But I think what you will find with Nathan Jones' squad is we will go through periods where those fine margins don't go in our favour. The one thing you've got to do is make sure it doesn't keep going on. I think we are maybe needing. I think in the next at least couple of games, we do need that victory. We can't go into too many draws, loss, because it will start to.
Yeah. You start thinking, right, we're really not taking our chances now.
Yeah,
we're not getting enough goals. The only thing that worries me a little bit about Sheffield United as well is they have got some really quality players. I was looking at their team. Obviously, they lost. Was it 4 or 5? 5-0, wasn't it? I think they lost at the weekend. That's why he's got the boot. They got players like Louis Barry. They've got that Hamer guy. They got that Tyrese Campbell up top. They got loads of really good players.
Yeah.
So they have got the quality. They're just not clicking at all at the moment. So let's just hope that.
Well, and the hope is there is something that's also. I don't think even with Wilder coming back in, if it is him, which it looks like it probably will be. I don't think even though he was there before, there is still an unpicking of what's been done. And realistically, by the time it gets round to Saturday, I don't think there's definitely an opportunity there. And even if they come back as wild as Sheffield United, I still feel confident, and I think we have to go there with that confidence, no matter what they.
Well, Jones won't give a toss about what's going on in the background anyway. He'll just approach it as if he does with any other game. Set us up in a way that we're going there to get 3 points. So fingers crossed. But their fans are going to be bang up for it now because obviously they've got what they wanted. The manager's gone, so.
I'm hoping the occasion gets to them and we
spoil the homecoming.
Spoil the homecoming, yes. So so I think that's a good time where we're gonna end the episode now. So one of the things I'm going to quickly do, we haven't done it the last few weeks. It depends whether I can remember at the end of the episode or not. But I think an interesting one. We'll bring up where kind of the league table is at the moment. I think Frustrating would like to be higher up the table, but definitely something where if we can. We're at that stage where if we can bring a few more points in, we'll start moving much more.
No, also the league's still so tight. Like,
one win, you're up to like
massively up
the table, 10th place, even outside the playoffs. So,
and we spoke about it as well. Actually, we've played some tough teams already, so it's not as if we're like we're sitting there thinking, oh, we should have got way more points than we're on now. Probably, pretty pleased.
I think overall pretty happy with where we are, and the realistic side is we haven't started the season dwelling in the relegation zone. You'll see. I mean, lots of teams. You look at where Wrexham are at the moment. I mean, they haven't had they're struggling, and I think the biggest thing we discussed it in last week's episode is their defensive fragility, which I think in Championship is probably much more dangerous than lacking in attack because when you have defensive fragility, you will lose a lot of points.
Well, yeah, and also we said like. Performances suggest that we're gonna pick up points. We're unlucky that we're not.
We'll go through a 5-game period where everything we've had that goes against us will go in our favour.
Yeah,
be a red card against the other team, whatever it might be. And the Leicester game, we'll get on top and we'll score a goal. Lots and lots of bits and pieces that will go in our favour. So let's wrap it up there. I'll try second time lucky. So we'll be back next week with the game against Sheffield United. Hopefully, as say. I keep saying this every week. I think hoping that it will just filter through, but with 3 points on the table, we'll see you in the next one.